I'm going to be doing a talk on psychic and really the meaning of it. And there's a lot of confusion when it comes to this topic. People think it's this or that. And what I mean by that is they think that somebody either is a psychic or they're an astrologer, or they're a psychic or they're a card reader, or they're a psychic and they're a medium or something like that. They don't realize, they think it's this or that. You're either a psychic or you do something else, like astrology or numerology or handwriting analysis or name analysis. And they think that the two are not interchangeable. They think they're separate and the person's either doing this or that. And I say that they're not doing this and that, they're doing not this or that, they're doing this and that. So I find that when somebody's an astrologer or a numerologist, they're both working with their intuition and their feelings, as well as what the tool is. The tool is either palmistry or name analysis or graphology or card reading or numerology or astronumerology or the Kaishi or the abracadabra. And they're not exclusive to each other. They work together. So it's this and that. And I find that when I worked in groups of psychics and readers, they called them readers. They didn't differentiate between a psychic and an astrologer or whatever, because there's a lot of controversy on this subject, even in the psychic world. There were what I call the old grit psychics that refused to learn anything else, and they said they were true psychics. And what happened was, when a variety of people came to them, they couldn't do most people. I saw one person that they would have to bounce 4 or 5 people out of 10 because they couldn't even get going. And I would speak to them and they would say, oh, well, you got other things to fall back on. I just work on psychic. And they even had no understanding that when you're a numerologist or an astrologer or you're doing their name, you're also working with your intuition and your feelings. And if you're very developed, you're an extremely astute psychic. So you're doing this and that, not this or that. So you're combining a skill with your innate ability and your feelings. But I'll just go over a little chart. What I have here, and this is what we call a psychic line. And these are what we call psychic studies: astrology, palmistry, tarot, and playing cards, whether it's regular cards, graphology, name analysis, astronumerology, the Kaishi, things like rune stones, and you can go on and on, Mandalas. And then on this side of the line, and this is the way people think, you have mediumship, telepathy, mind reading, psychic impressions, crystal ball reading, and psychometry, which is like when somebody grabs a watch or a ring or some item that somebody has and they get impressions on it, and they give the person the impressions that they're getting off their jewelry or something that they own for a while or whatever. And of course, I contended that when somebody on my previous tapes does palmistry, they're getting into psychometry because they're holding the hand and they're getting impressions as if it were a ring or a watch or an item. So we have this psychic line, and a lot of people think you're on this side of the line and that side of the line, and they think it's this or that. And I say it's this and that. In other words, if you're an astrologer and you're psychic, you're going to have both. And what happens is you cross this line constantly between the skill, the study, and this psychic impressions. And you use psychometry with palmistry. You use impressions and knowledge, with numbers. And the numbers actually take the randomness, because I call it random impressions or random presentations. And the studies actually take the randomness out of it. The study astrology or numerology says, don't look here, look over here. This is where the action's happening. So it points you in the right direction. And once it points you there, you're looking at the planets or the numbers, and now you're starting to ascertain, trying to think about what's going to happen with or to or from or around this person. And that's the intuition and the psychic working. And a lot of times, like me, myself, when I'm doing a card reading, I start getting names of people and other impressions that are not in the cards. But the cards are almost like a crystal ball, which I put here as well, on what most people would call the psychic line, but they're all psychic. What I'm saying is it's this and that. It's never just this or that. And that's a really wrong impression, because somebody's constantly jumping over into the psychic. They're always working with their intuitive facility to one degree or an extreme degree. I find that the polished psychics work with this and that, and they constantly go back between the two. But the astrology or the numerology or the name analysis or the astronumerology or the abracadabra gives them some direction. And I find that the straight psychic has just random impressions. And I think the best way is to learn the studies and be psychic at the same time. And then you got the complete package. So remember, it's this and that. It's not just, people just have the wrong idea. The studies really help the whole science. They call them psychic sciences. And the studies help somebody get extra information. They wouldn't get as much information just from random impressions. I could tell you that right now. I've worked around psychics for years, since I've been a child, and I can tell you they'll get a lot of good random impressions. So a lot of it's right on, but they'll never have the direction that they do if they learn the skills with it. This is a great package deal, and they keep crossing the psychic line until the line disappears and they don't know what side of the line they're on. And this is what I have to give to people, that these studies are very worthwhile, and you can't beat them, and they'll beat just a straight psychic every time if they're psychic and they have these abilities.